This is my 7th video, I guess, and as you guys can remember from my last video, we created this website where basically display test 1 is going to display 95, test 2 is 100, and test 3 is 70. If you go into that, this is what we're calling. I'm just going to use the same file because this video we're going to talk about loops and how to use them. We're going to start with for loops. A loop is basically something where you're going through the array and displaying it. So let's just remove these buttons. Keep one button and change it to tests, and then no parameter. But click me, and then remove this parameter right here, and then alright. So what we're gonna do in this video is we already have our array. We'll just add more data. So it's 50, 60, 65. Oops. 78, 89, 99, blah blah blah. Extra credit. Alright, so we want to display the tests. Now what we can do is just do display and then my grades. It's gonna display the tests. It is going to display the test, but you know they're kind of ugly. And let's say we want to make them like so let's say we want to make them in a different way where they would have a space in between them, not commas and with no space. We don't want to be like that. So what we have to do is use a loop. So we could be like, so I'm going to create a var and they call it string. Strings are keyword. My string equals to double quote. So what this is gonna do is just create empty string, and this is local to click me. I'm pretty sure I cannot access my string outside. I can, but this is not gonna work. So yeah. So what var, I already told you guys about. Var limits the access of the variable within the function. So now I can create. So this is how you write a for loop. Write for and then parentheses. You have to define var. So you want to keep a variable like the index. Like you remember last video we did something like my grades sub 0 and or sub 1, whatever. So in this video we're gonna build on that by using for loop. So we want to limit our index. So the sub 0, the 0 is the index. So the is index 1, my grades index 1 is 100, my grades index 3 is 50. So there's this so that's index. So let me just type this up real quick. I equals 0, I less than my grades dot length I plus I equals to I plus 1. So that's how you write a traditional for loop. So this thing called dot length, it's gonna take the length of the my grades it's gonna take the length of the my grades and limited before I reach it. So I'm just gonna do this. I'm gonna say my string equals to my string plus my grades sub I. So what this is gonna do is first when it starts it says, so when I call click me, it's gonna say var and then plus a space this is like an empty space, like that's empty string right here, and this is empty string right here, and this is an empty space bar. So what this is gonna do is first set I to 0, and then see if I is less than my grades, which is like an array, the length of my grades. So the length of my grades is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The length of my grades is 10. So I is never gonna go to 9, because 9 index, this is 0, index 0, index 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 9. I is never gonna go to index 10 because I said it less than. Less than means it will never reach this number. If I wanna do less than or equals to, it's good. I have to put a -1 right here, which I'm not gonna do because it's easier to do this. And then it's gonna check that, and then it's gonna go through the loop. Then it's gonna increase the value of I by 1. So this is one way of putting it. If you guys can remember one of my videos, I said plus equals to. That's the same as putting this. That is the same as putting that. This line right here was the same. Is the same as my string equals to my string plus my grades sub I plus space. The same thing. So these two lines of code are the same thing. So I can also do this right here because I'm adding by 1. Another way of adding 1 is by putting a double plus. So I'll just do this because I equals to I plus 1 is the same as I equals to plus equals to 1, and same as I plus plus. So what plus plus does is adds 1, but if you add plus plus plus, that's not gonna add 2. That's the way it works. Plus plus is just a shortcut for for loops. So what this is gonna do is set I equals to 0 when it creates my string, and then tries to execute for loop. It's gonna set I to 0, check I if less than my grades LM, which is 10, so I is, and then do this. So it's gonna add 95 and then a space to my string, and then increase I by 1. So it's gonna go to I equals to 1, and then say my string plus equals to my grade sub I, which is sub 1, which is 100, plus space. So it basically means that it's gonna go through until the end of the loop, and it's gonna display all the numbers and then a space after it. So if we call display now, because we didn't display it, and then say my string, and then now we can actually test it out. So if we say display test, it should have all the test numbers with a space right there instead of a comma, which looks very messy. So yeah, this is what a for loop is basically. So let's say we want to use our new knowledge of for loop to get the average of the student of the whole year, because that's what they got for 10 different subjects. So instead of my string, I'm gonna say average avg equals 0, and then here I'm just gonna delete this code right here, keep the comments and everything. So I'm just gonna say avg plus equals to my grades sub I, because how you find, so the only way to find the mean thing is by adding all the numbers and then dividing by the number of numbers. So we're gonna, this is the same as average avg equals avg plus my grades sub I. That's the same as these are the same lines. So now we're adding them up instead of doing like my average equals to average plus my grade sub 0, and then go to the next line, average equals average plus my grades sub 1, and then doing it all over again. You just write this simple for loop where I does the work for you, the index, which is I. You can tell those settings to my index. You can send this to index, but then you'd also have to change index right here, and then index right here, and then also in the index right here. These are all commented out, so you don't need to really change it. Like it explains the same thing. I'm just gonna set it back to I because it's easier for me. And basically that's it. Now I don't have a my string anymore, so I'm just gonna delete this line. And now that I have the sum of all my numbers, I could divide them. So I could have avg. So just like there's plus equals to, there's also minus equals to, which means that you're taking off numbers. If I do avg minus equals to 1, that's the same as avg minus minus. But there's nothing like times times or something. So now I want to divide avg by the total number of numbers, which is my grades length. So I have to say avg equals to avg divided by my grades length. So my grades length is 10 and the number of numbers is 10, so that's perfectly right. This also means that you could write this divided by equals to my grades length. Yep. Oh, this is insert, by the way, where just basically if you type A, it's gonna take over semicolon, just that. So now that we have our average, we could just display it to avg as parameter, and then that's gonna display it. So that's like the basic use of a for loop. There's some cases where a while loop is better, but most of the cases for loop does the work for you. A while loop is just a loop where you include this part only this part with no semicolons, just I less than my grades length. So we could have a for loop outside this we could have a while loop outside this for loop, saying that if my grades we could have a while loop inside this for loop, saying that if my grades is less than 50, then don't add it or whatever. Well, we can do that later. That's just for more advanced stuff. So this is basically how you do a for loop, and I'm just gonna run it real quick. See, that's your average, 80.7. Now if I change this average right here to 100, save it, reload the page, because you have to do that, because otherwise you won't have the array right here. See, that's the 50 is now 100 right here, right there, 100. Display test 85.7. This is basically so you don't have to like add it up every single time. So another thing is that I said this before, but try to keep your program like very dynamic and very efficient, because if you don't, like you might have a bad habit of making a bad inefficient program, which may cause other problems in your program when you like try to make a bigger project. Like if you're trying to like, let's say, make a site like eBay, if your program is inefficient, then it's gonna be very slow, and like the users are gonna be disappointed in the site itself. They're not gonna come back or whatever. But basically this is how you do it. That's like the only way to use a for loop. That's not the only way to use a for loop, but you can use for loops for other reasons, not only arrays. And arrays are very useful. They're very useful for storing big amounts of data. In the next video, we're gonna learn more about how to use arrays and add to arrays, and some more HTML, CSS in the next couple of videos. Please subscribe and like to my channel. Thank you for watching my video. Have a good day, guys.